FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
For millennia, ancient pharaohs prospered from unparalleled riches made possible by Egypt's resource-rich gold deposits. But despite this rich history, modern Egypt remains one of the most underdeveloped gold mining countries in the world. But that's all about to change. Aton Resources is leading the charge on the Egyptian mining revival. As the only public exploration company in Egypt, Aton Resources has first-mover advantage. Focused on their 100% owned Abu Marawat concession, Aton Resources is advancing several exploration targets, including the recent discovery of the legendary Lost Mountain of Gold at Rod Ruin. Learn more about this exciting drill program and other news at atonresources.com. Aton trades on the TSXV under the ticker symbol AAN and on the OTC under the ticker ANLBF.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. I'm here at the Sprott Resource Investment Conference in beautiful Vancouver at the downtown Fairmont Hotel. And we're really blessed to have Rick Rule with us of Sprott. You all know him well. But Rick, I want to approach this from a different point. It looks like we're in the midst of a nascent bull market in resource stocks. And a lot of people, you told me, who are contacting Sprott, who contact us, who listen to the show, watch the YouTubes, they're all newbies at this. And you know, when I look back, when I started getting into this 20 odd years ago, I didn't really know anything. And you know, it's really easy to get screwed in the sector, to put it charitably. You know, the old Mark Twain thing of what's the definition of a gold mine? A hole in the ground with a liar standing next to it. Well, we're a little more sophisticated than that. Now we got companies that have nothing, but they have beautiful websites and great emails and all that. What is your advice to this emerging group of probably millennial investors so that they don't get burned on this?
Well, the first is common sense. If something sounds too good to be true, it almost always is. So common sense is the first thing. My own suspicion is that the millennials will start off being the best investment generation that the resource business has ever seen. Because millennials rely on themselves for information. They get information from many, many sources. Information that goes to millennials is not top-down information. It doesn't necessarily go from money managers or brokerage firms or major financial or publishing institutions. It's crowdsourced. It comes from everywhere. And so millennials will have the advantage of being able to seek out information rather than having to digest pablum, which is delivered to them. Later on, the millennials will make epic mistakes because the millennials are, in fact, the most narrative-oriented generation on the planet. And the gold narrative is perhaps the strongest narrative that they will ever be exposed to, given that it appeals to both greed and fear. But in the beginning, the millennials will be the best investment generation that we have seen. That's my suspicion.
Well, if nothing else, they're able to look up all the FINRA records and see who the scammers are. You know, like you and I, when we started out, like, guy made a presentation and said, gee, that sounds amazing. And we didn't really have online capability to vet that person, to verify them. Now, you know, you go, I saw a great presentation. I ran the guy's name through the internet. I looked up where he lived in Florida. He's got 85 lawsuits against him. Everybody's suing this person. So, and I do believe that millennials are superior, probably the most superior online researchers of any generation yet, and research in general, because it's all at your fingertips and they know how to phrase queries probably better than you or I.
That's probably not a great test, but I get your basic point.
Yeah. So we've got this emerging generation, and the other thing is, hey, if the stock market takes a hit, this generation has grown up. Well, assuming they're the younger millennials, they saw the foreclosure crisis, but now it's 10 years and they haven't really lived through a bear market since they were adults. And that goes for the people selling these stocks, the people analyzing them. So can't put a price on inexperience, can you?
That's a nervousness I have. The nervousness I have is that the millennials have lived through a time where trust in the system and faith in the system has been very, very strong. My own experience is that something happens that shakes your faith in the system about once every 10 years. So I think the millennials are due their first, if you will, religious experience.
their first wake-up call, their first reality check, or whatever. We could go on. So, one of the things that you said, the millennials, they believe in the system, and they don't really understand the proper function of regulatory bodies like the SEC, like the various provincial regulators in Canada and the state regulators, it's all about blue sky. It's all about disclosure. Like, you could just say, I spent 20 years in prison for killing my next door neighbor, but I'm going to really run a great mining company here. And as long as you say that, you're pretty much okay. As long as the SEC hasn't barred you from being involved in a publicly traded company, you can do this.
I think we let off the interview by saying that the best attribute that a millennial could have in terms of making money in this market is common sense. The truth is that in every speculative endeavor, the most important fundamental is people. And with the research tools that millennials have at their disposal and have facility with, understanding the investing track record of the people that they're doing business with is, as you had put it yourself, easier for them than it was for us. It's important, too, that millennials understand what a track record is. Somebody who says that he or she were successful in mining as a consequence of the fact that they operated a gold mine in French-speaking Quebec, and their proposal now is to explore for, rather than operate, gold and copper in the Chilean Altiplano, in Spanish-speaking Chile. While they have experience, it isn't experience that's germane to the task at hand. It's important that your listeners pay attention to track record that is germane, that is directly related to the task at hand. And millennials have more tools to do that than any generation who came before them.
Okay, so one thing I've noticed, a trend, especially in this space, is that the financial people wind up doing a lot better than the people who actually stick the shovels in the ground. The guys who actually run these companies, they generally wind up, and the ones that I've seen who are coming from a financial background seem to have an edge over the geologists and the mining engineers. Is that true?
It hasn't been my experience. I was fortunate enough early in my career to be attracted to people who ended up ultimately being superb geologists. So when I look at Adolf and his now two sons, Lucas and Ian, the family fortune is about $6 billion. The financial people who were around them, myself included, did well, but we didn't do that well. I have no idea what Ross Beatty is worth, but I know he's given away $150 million. In my experience, the very, very, very top tier of earth scientists, not the people who trade stocks, but the people who build great companies and make big discoveries, make themselves $1 billion over the course of their career. They do very, very, very well. Certainly the next level down, the bankers probably do better because the bankers make more consistent money. Right. But the business, as it should, at the top tier, returns the wealth to those who created it.
Okay, and that's reasonable. Although you do see these financial guys that serial startup one more, and they're successful at it because they know how to build a team, even though they don't have the insight into earth sciences. So when you look at the future of mining, we're starting to see AI really play a big role in where companies drill and enabling them to conserve funds to really pinpoint their drill activity. How earth-shattering is that? How important is that trend?
Right now, AI is useful for making share prices go up. It's a promotional tool. 10 years from now, the business will be data-driven and predictively driven. The truth is that AI needs to be directed by a human being because the best computer that was ever designed is a functioning human brain. But the fact that AI can scan so much data and can find patterns that you and I couldn't find, what it really means is that we can amplify our own ability to analyze data and analyze trends much more efficiently. A set of data that might take you and I literally a decade to go through can now be combed in AI, and patterns could be found that you and I could never find because of boredom. This can occur in a week. And that really is the definition of the business in the future.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, and maybe we're about to see some major breakthroughs in it, but it definitely sounds good when you put out a press release and, AI is taking the guesswork out of finding these deposits. Hey, one thing I want to address with you. There is this little substrata, especially in South America, of, I would call them renegade miners, individual guys, and they're screwing around with dangerous substances. I'm not talking about drugs, I'm talking about mercury. They kind of carry around a pocketbook filled with cyanide. I mean, these guys are, well, it's kind of like our gold rush from way back when, but they're polluting. I don't know how you ever rein these in if you want to rein them in, but they're a danger to themselves and to the environment. And for an industry that's made so much progress in its environmental reputation, these guys are kind of a drag on it.
The garimperos in South America and the galamse in Africa are a big problem. Of course, for the countries that they exist in the near term, they're not a problem, they're an opportunity. It will be impossible to stamp them out as long as income inequality exists to the extent it does. And also it will be impossible to stamp them out because most often they work in collusion with the political establishment. The political establishment can sign a license with us, in which case the money goes to the government, or they can issue a sub rosa permit to informals, in which case they put the money in their pocket. Guess what they prefer?
I can't imagine.
Now, the truth is that the artisanal miner is, as you describe it, a danger to him or herself, a danger to their immediate community, and a danger to the environment. And in a major scale, I have seen 20 or 30 galamse or artisanal miner settlements in Africa that had 8,000 or 10,000 people in place utilizing cyanide in, let's just be polite and say, unintelligent fashion, using the cyanide to segregate gold, burning the cyanide off to free up the gold, and at once inhaling that same cyanide that they burned off. I mean, really catastrophic stuff. Obliterating the surface, obliterating the subsoil, obliterating the water table. Really ugly problems. How you deal with that problem, given the sociology and the politics that exist in those countries today, is well above my pay grade, sadly.
Yeah, but it is a major problem, and it's kind of a shame because we've seen these mining companies maybe a little too environmentally sensitive. I don't mean to say we want them polluting the earth, but obsessively, because, look, mining doesn't have a great history in treating the environment, but this crop of miners at your show here and that we see at all the shows is a whole different breed of what used to be. So they've made such great strides.
That's in fact true. And one of the things that we can do for the informal miner is, on occasion, employ them. And they turn out to be very good workers. We've been able in many areas of Africa to take people who are making $5 or $6 a day degrading the environment and pay them $50 or $60 a day, giving them skills, making them real miners, which is a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, it's estimated that there are about 2 million of these people worldwide, and there's just no way that we can employ all of those people in modern mining.
No, because one of the keys to modern mining, it's become much more productive than in the old days, both in how they get the material out of the ground and how they process it and all of that. So, hey, the coming bull market or the nascent bull market that we're in, any ideas how long it's going to last and how long the gravy train runs for?
When you see my speech tomorrow, you will see a 40-year gold mining chart from Barron's. And it's a very instructive chart in many senses. The first part of the chart that's fun is that you learn that the slogan, "A bear market is the author of a bull market," is true. The second thing that's interesting is the dimension of the upside in a bull market. A bad bull market is a 300% move in the gold mining stocks. A good bull market is a 1,000% move. The third is the violence. These bull markets can last as little as 9 months or can go as far as 60 months. The median seems to be about 3 years. So make it and take it.
And that's good advice. And if there's one thing in the present upcoming bull market, or maybe we're in it already, let's assume we're in it, what is the thing that makes you most encouraged about it?
the fact that we're starting from such a low base. If you believe that bear markets are the authors of bull markets, the bear market that we've just been through, 7 years with an 85% nominal and a 90% real decline in the index, tells me that even though we're off the bottom, we're at stair one in a 20-story staircase.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I'm extremely bullish, especially because of the technical action. I follow the fundamental case, but it's never worked for me. The technical case, cyclical case always worked better. Hey, where's the best place how do we subscribe to your pearls of wisdom that come out periodically during the week?
The easiest way to do that is to email me, rrule, that's RRULE at sprottglobal.com, and I'll put you on the pearls list. The second thing you could do if you want a link to it is that the MP3s, the recordings of this conference, will be available. So rather than merely hearing my pearls, you can hear everyone's pearls.
All right. Well, that's a good deal. And we follow you faithfully, and we're going to follow you up the ladder here, Rick.
Great. I look forward to it, and I want to thank you personally for your support of the conference and your attendance here.
Well, thank you. And hey, well, now that you put in your teaser for your speech, I'm going to have to show up.
That was my intention from the very beginning.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.